Hi, and welcome to the First Issue Club, your weekly comic book podcast where, just like Sue Storm, we love a good read. Man, we're back. And I'm zooted and booted. And I'm ready to talk about comics. There's something about a pairing of Brews and Books.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you know Oscar Wilde? Ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Guy liked some wormwood, right?
Where is this going?
I'm just saying, open your third eye to comic books via a channel called Alcoholic Influence, my man.
Okay. You're saying lift the veil of the comic book world with a glass of, I don't know, say off the top of my head, Space Camper IPA.
That's right.
Yum yum, give me some down in my tum-tum. It's not a beer, it's a journey. And a comic book lubricant.
That's right. And we've got some Space Camper here, courtesy of our friend Adam.
Adam works for Boulevard Brewing Company.
I just nicked this off a truck.
Fell off a truck. It's very foamy. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, thanks for having me.
This is like, I want to say maybe your fifth time on the show.
Oh wow,
we're one whole hand now
SNL,
of appearances.
When you host 5 times.
Yeah, you get a little jacket.
Right. Where's my jacket?
Well, it's funny because you gave us hats. We did a reverse 5-timers club, and you gave us hats.
Wait till you see what you get when I'm on 10 times.
Oh my god! I hope it's pants. I want just says Space Camper like down
pants.
Yeah, down the leg.
Why would you say pants when hockey sweater is right there?
Hockey sweater.
We're gonna make that dream come true one of these days. I promise you.
I've been saving Patreon money for you, Andy, to get you your own custom made
a Chinese
hockey
knockoff
for a hockey jersey. Yeah.
Because as much as I think you look great in your Hams hockey jersey.
Yeah.
You need to be a company man.
I don't disagree.
We need to rein you in. Adam is here to talk about, among other things, Space Camper IPA, Planet Comicon, coming to Kansas City next weekend.
Yeah.
So crazy.
It's wild.
Talk about some comic book news. Over on the Patreon, we've just recorded it. We talked about a bunch of varieties of Space Campers that if you're watching the video, you can see. We introduced Zero Gravity. What's the other one, Mike? You're holding it. Chill Break. And then, Adam, what's this one? Crater Raider.
Yeah.
We give our full deep dive taste testings over on the Patreon. We also talk about the Daredevil show for about an hour and a half. But Adam, for those folks joining us on the main, as you can tell, we did Patreon first. Tell us about what Boulevard's going to be doing at Planet Comicon this year, and for those people that are listening that live in Kansas City, what can they expect?
Yes. So if when you come to Planet Comicon, stop by booth 100. You'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll all be there.
We're sharing a booth.
We're going to be giving away samples of beer pretty much all weekend, from soup to nuts, as they say, start to finish. We'll have a presence on the convention floor. We will also be hosting an after party on Saturday night, which I'm hoping you guys are going to be there too. Right?
Big time.
You're obligated, right?
Contractually obligated.
Yeah. That party actually should be a pretty good time. It's a good way to kind of unwind from the chaos of the convention.
Yeah.
There's going to be a DJ. We're going to be sampling more beer. But yeah, we're just going to be there all weekend, just kind of hanging out with you guys. So
yeah, we have kind of teased it a little bit of what we will be doing. And Mike D has spent countless sleepless nights finishing up these cards and games that we'll be doing that we're really, really excited to show at Planet Comicon. And be sure to check out our social media pages because we'll be documenting our time at the con there. So you'll be able to see some of the cards and some of the games and hopefully some special guests
They're
dropping
by. They're going to be taking you on a literal journey. It's so exciting. Yeah.
So if you thought that tarot was fun from last year's, we doubled down and did a whole new revamp of that we are very, very proud of. And like I said, we just sent the final product to Jordan and Adam over at Boulevard, and they were pretty goosed on it, which is a good thing. And we have koozies this year, too.
I can't believe neither of you mentioned the most exciting thing. The mystery beer that Boulevard's going to have.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's called Leading Up.
Yeah, we were teasing that. Yeah, so we, like Space Camper Cosmic IPA was born at, you guys know, it was born at Comic-Con. And so every year we participate. And this year, one of our innovation brewers wanted to make this massive triple IPA. And it's too expensive for us to like produce and release on a national scale or even local. Like we could do it, but then you'd have to pay like $50 a bottle, right?
Right.
So we're like, well, let's hang on to that. Let's produce it and brew it in time for Comic-Con. And we tasted it earlier, and it's like literally went into the can 2 days ago. So it'll be ready for the con. So it's a big triple IPA called Fundamental Evil. It is the most metal kind of label that we've ever done. Our designer
Showing up the design right now.
Wes Hamilton really channeled his fucking dark side for this. So we're gonna be pouring that at the after party on Saturday night. You get free samples. It's 10% ABV, so even if you don't like it, just chug it. Your night will get weird.
Well, and it tastes the opposite that poster looks.
It really does. It
Right.
really does. Yeah.
Like I said, we taste tested it, and it when you hear 10%, you're like, oh, this is gonna like kind of knock me on my socks, and it will, but it doesn't taste like it's gonna knock you on your socks. It's very smooth and
well, when I see a black poster that says Fundamental Evil, I'm picturing a certain color of liquid that's going to come out of that bottle, and this is not that.
That's
color.
how it gets you.
Yeah.
That's what Fundamental Evil does.
like any good evil,
True.
it tricks you.
It tricks you.
Well, like I said, Adam, we are super excited to have you here to talk about nerd stuff, to talk about Boulevard Space Camper IPA. It's been really a true joy to partner with Boulevard over all these years and to see the cross influence of comic nerd and beer nerd, which are essentially the same circle in the Venn diagram. And to like just be in the last 3 years really partnering with you guys at Planet and like expand that more and like to meet new people. Like last year we always talked about how we met CB Cebulski and we hung out with Jason Aaron. Like just seeing this grow and becoming more ingrained in like what you do and you guys with what we do has just been kind of like rad, to be honest. And so additionally to that, Adam has bestowed upon us two 3-day passes to Planet Comicon for this weekend. So
and we can't have them.
Yeah,
so.
we have to buy ours. So if you are interested in going to Planet Comicon this weekend, be sure to check out all of our social media outlets on IG, X, Facebook. There will be posts on there for how you can enter to win these tickets to be eventually picked up from the beer hall over at Boulevard Brewing Company. So just go to your favorite social media platform. Go to @FirstIssueClub, like us, and then follow the instructions from aforementioned post for your chance to win.
And bonus prize, free high five at the con.
At the con? Yeah. Well, from who?
Me.
Okay.
That's a Vargas.
Yeah,
prize.
I'm not committing to that.
Yeah.
One high
I've been
five.
to a con.
We all know that COVID was 5 years ago, but
I got you guys for one high five. I didn't say it wouldn't be gloved.
ooh,
Okay.
Oh.
a gloved high five.
Velvet, no less.
It almost sounds dirtier that it's like you like draped in velvet. Okay.
Eye contact during this high five.
That remains to be seen.
Okay.
Depends how cool you are.
To have a genuine, solid high five, you can't make eye contact. You gotta stare at the elbow.
Oh, right, yeah.
True.
Stare at the elbow.
The old trick.
Like pop. You like you pop that high five. Moving on from beers and
we've got
cons.
about an hour more of high five talk to go. So
First high five club.
first high five club.
Yeah. Well, don't tempt me. Some comic book news. It's spicy to be sure. Andy, yours ties into mine.
Okay, sure.
So, taketh away.
So this is a very specific but very spicy take. Dustin Nguyens, who is a big-time creator, big-time cover artist, recently did, not recently, I guess, did that Batman and Robin limited series at DC. He did all those, Little DC? He did those books.
Yep.
Whatever.
Did he do Little Vampires on Image?
Little Vampires or Little Monsters.
Little Monsters.
Little
on Image,
Monsters. Yeah. Big time creator. Posted
a tirade.
That's exactly the word. A tirade against Marvel specifically, but also DC not paying him what he is clearly worth.
Sure.
For his covers specifically. And he, again, did not mince words. I mean,
it was pretty stark, the level of transparency he did in his post of how upset he was.
Like he
aside
said,
from naming names,
he didn't name names, but he tagged Marvel and said, like,
go fuck yourself.
Fuck Marvel.
Yep.
You need to pay me. You do not pay cover artists. You don't pay us what we're worth, all that stuff. And I mean, it was astounding to me that someone would come out this hard against a big 2 publisher.
Well, and what the astonishing thing to me was, like, in this day and age, in this era of marketing and networking, this is a pretty hard line in the sand. I mean, Dustin Nguyens has to be pretty damn sure that he never wants to work with Marvel and DC ever again.
Well, and he said in a follow-up post, he's like, I don't care how many bridges I burned because I hope that it makes the future for cover artists better. Which is
not what
stance.
That's a stance. Yes. Will this? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
This is essentially just like writing an evil message about your ex-girlfriend on a bathroom wall. Like, you post this to IG stories. Like, I mean, it's clearly you're upset. This maybe should have been a thing where you write it down on a letter, put it in a drawer, and then kind of just like see how you're feeling at the end of the day.
I don't disagree with anything that he said. I think the smarter move would have been to post it in more palatable terms.
Put it in a Substack.
Put it in a Substack's a great idea, and get a coalition of cover artists.
Yeah.
Imagine if he and Scotty Young and Peach Momoko all posted something similar that was like, hey, Marvel, you don't pay cover artists enough. And
my thing is, though, they're probably playing Scotty Young and Peach Momoko enough.
They probably are.
You know what? Like, Dustin Nguyens, one of my favorites.
Totally.
Is not of the caliber that Marvel was willing to dish out the big bucks for.
I don't disagree, but I also think there are big name cover artists who would back something like that.
But and like, I agree, but like it's also maybe kind of a fool's errand to ask anyone to do, like, because he went full scorched earth.
Yes.
And I don't know of any creator who's just gonna be like, like, I'll hop onto that. Aside from Rob Liefeld, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many signatures you're gonna get.
I don't think that was the way to do it.
Absolutely.
I don't think going scorched earth was the way. But
Absolutely.
Like, imagine if you got Alex Ross to co-sign on that sentiment in a way that was more palatable.
Yeah.
Marvel would have to listen at that point.
If you could have like hired like a marketing firm to like just do the first edit of like your post, I mean, like, I wouldn't.
Control F, delete the word fuck, right? Like, maybe we'll start there.
I wouldn't put any of this in here, Dustin.
Yeah. But I mean, it was crazy. It's one of the more, as we keep saying, spicy takes that I've seen posted on socials in a long time.
Right. And it raises the question of like, what happened? So something, this just doesn't like happen like, he's having a bad Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, there was either a deal that went wrong, or he was promised a certain amount of money, and then the powers that be, they were just like, you know what? We're actually going to pay this, and this amount.
Yeah.
Or he has found out that they're using a cover of his that he already signed off on to make a bunch more money off of, whether it be prints, posters, merchandise, anything. And he's just like, well, I just got boned.
Yeah. Yeah, because he says specifically he asked for something like a $75 page raise in the last 15 years, which is like, for a cover artist, is like nothing. And he's mainly a cover guy. So Yeah, even if he's making, let's say $500. I mean, I would hope that he's making more than that.
Yeah.
But $500 a page. Mm-hmm. Hell, even if it's $1,000 a page, $2,000 a page for a cover artist is like nothing.
Yeah, well, and like there are whole divisions at these companies that are crunching the numbers and are just like,
Yeah.
We've seen his covers sell for this amount, for this many units, like justifiably we can give him this amount.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about before on previous episodes about how artists typically make more money selling their original artwork after the fact. Mm-hmm. But there is something to this of like he had reached the limit of just like, why the fuck aren't you paying? Like, I'm not asking for much.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you paying me more? And it's just this reads of like, my feelings are hurt. Like, I know I'm worth more. So I'm just going to react quickly and just go right to
Totally.
IG stories and just spill my guts out because I'm just pissed off right now.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting hurdle that people now have to deal with when they're upset with their work. Like they have an immediate outlet to like fume.
Especially when you work in an industry that is somewhat public.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you think about all the times you like are having a bad week and pop off at somebody in your personal life or work life or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But, I don't make things that like the world at large is consuming.
Yeah.
Because it relates to like pop culture or something. And that is like a dangerous thing. Just
an
that
inflated ego.
Just that to say, give this guy a break if you're thinking that he lit a flame to his career or anything. Mm-hmm. I'm like, he spoke up for what he believed in.
Right.
And, sometimes we have a bad day and pop. And he obviously, the way it's written, he obviously popped.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to say that his career is over is wrong.
Right.
Yeah, like he will make books for years to come. There's Image, there's other publishers. I don't know if he'll be back at Marvel and DC. Like I don't know if I don't know if that working relationship is even worth repairing at this point.
Well, he's clearly once you do that, you have to have at least thought about it a little bit. Like he's clearly not going for.
Well, I don't know if you like I said, if you had thought about it for a little bit, it would have been like a blog post. This is like my girlfriend broke up with me. I'm gonna fucking roast her real quick on IG Live. Like, you know what I mean? This was like, he just got out of a meeting. He was just like, you know what? Fuck this. And just like...
Marvel's going to roll him out like they did the weekend at the Grammys. Yeah, like, he said he'd never come back, but here he is. We did it. We fixed our problems.
Oh, my God.
Here's your great cover. Zoe Thorogood commented on one of his posts that the only time she worked with Marvel was for a character design. They paid her $100. But thought it was cool to have it done. And then on top of that, the Marvel allegedly used that concept art as a cover and didn't compensate her further, which is
shady.
A little shady. Yeah, you don't love that. I mean, I remember getting a Doctor Strange. I had brought a Doctor Strange comic to Planet Comicon once to have Jason Aaron sign it. This was when he was doing that book.
Sure.
And just picked a random cover out of my collection that I liked, and I noticed a guy had that cover on his banner. Oh, no. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, did you do the cover art for that?" And he was like, "That's my art. It's not cover art." And I was like, "Oh, I have the comic here." And I pulled it out.
Oh boy.
He did not know.
Wow.
That Marvel had used his art as a cover, and he was just like, I'll sign it for you, but he's like, sorry, I'm just kind of like taken aback and like
brutal,
speechless at this. He was like, sometimes, they'll do a call for art just to see what people have and maybe throw you like a couple bucks, but you don't really, you think if anything comes of it, you're going to get more compensation or something.
Right.
And they just used his art and he had no clue. Didn't get any like artist copies or anything. So
that happened to me with Cullen Bunn when I was getting a book signed.
yeah.
Where he was like, "Oh, I've never seen this cover before of this book that I wrote."
I didn't write this book.
Well, and at the time I was
My
like,
name on this.
"Oh, that's so weird." You'd think that a creator would at least get like a copy of
it, yeah.
every cover of every book they write, just out of the gate. But like to have your art featured on a cover
To be the cover
is like four more levels of that sucks. Well,
So at a minimum,
I kept
Some
saying Dustin Wynn. It's David Wynn. Is that what that said?
I don't
No, it's Dustin.
I don't think so. I think it's Dustin.
Okay. Well,
David Wynn also had strong words.
Yeah. In support of Dustin. Yeah. Dustin.
okay.
You're right.
Well, at the bottom of this article, it said David Wynn.
David Wynn wrote the article.
It was, yeah.
Wait, scroll back up. No. Scroll back up.
could've
Right
been-
there.
Okay, well, it could have
Other
been.
industry professionals responded David Wynn's
funny.
comment.
Well, I mean, that could have
Okay.
been a mistype.
So that's an error
AI wrote
on
this.
CBR's
It's
part.
ChatGPT.
Okay,
yeah.
hold on. I got to pop off the IG real quick and flag this article for.
Well, I'm very frustrated
Misnaming.
that it made me question whether I was correct. Because
To the show with no edits.
Stand your ground.
because some idiot mistyped David instead of Dustin.
Okay, but to be fair, though, how did that pass editing? Like,
It's large. Okay. Well, that's fine. What's your thing, Greg?
so, in other controversial, spicy things that are happening in the comic book community, a recent Kickstarter has come to light about Stan Lee in his final years. It's called Stan Lee: The Final Chapter by Jonathan Bolerjack. He is a director. It's touted around as like an insider look at Stan Lee's tumultuous final years, revealing the mistreatment and conflict threatened in his life and legacy.
That in and of itself makes me sick to my stomach.
I guess Jonathan says that he has like previously unknown videos and like encounters and creator interviews, basically giving, I don't know if new light is the right word, but like a new perspective on the final years of Stan Lee, which if you know anything about Stan Lee and his final years of life, it was basically just him being carted around con to con to con to just sign stuff. And when you're 90 plus some years old, it's just kind of like it's rough. I'm tired after 3 days at Planet Comicon. I can't imagine.
Having to do that weekend after weekend.
Right.
As a 90-year-old?
Right.
Yeah.
And like being mobbed by people. Like Stan Lee is like at this point, a cultural icon.
Yeah.
He's been in more movies than Robert Downey Jr. He is, for better or for worse, a pivotal figure in comic books.
Yeah.
And its popularity and its success. That you cannot debate that.
Right.
I mean, it's just solidified. But the conversation that is happening now is just kind of like your reaction to it, Vargas, of just like, ick.
Yeah, gross.
Like, you're essentially profiting off of elder abuse. You can't really spin it any other way. This is a movie about him being mistreated, maybe not physically, but definitely like for his stature, to get money that exploited that for money that he may not have seen. It's also confusing of just like, well, if you had all this previous information or knowledge, why not come forward earlier? I mean, he's been dead for 8 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that you need a Kickstarter to do this also seems odd.
That's
Like, if this is such a fire stoking, like, huge documentary that you're claiming it's going to be, any studio should be chomping at the bit to showcase this for you.
Yeah.
To foot the bill.
Well, right. And if Disney doesn't want to put it out because they don't want the information out there, put it on YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
don't kickstart it. God, it's
already got
60
60
grand.
what's their goal? 300,000?
Well, for worldwide distribution, I mean, the blooper reel alone, 2 hours long. But the thing that got me was the what do you call those? The tiers, like the reward tiers, which essentially is a gross thing to even talk about. But I guess they're making like a comic book to go along with the movie. Sorry, I had to talk through a burp there.
Ugh.
Disgusting.
And the comic book is a stunning photo comic capturing rare, candid moments of Stan Lee. You're making a movie about him being abused and like mistreated. What candid moments should I be expecting from this comic book that I am like looking forward to? Like, well, I don't know if I really want any keepsake from this movie where I'm just like, hey, you guys want to see my poster of the Stan Lee abuse movie? It's a real humdinger. And like, it doesn't get any better from the comic book standpoint. Like, there's a Comic Tom variant, which is fucking crazy. There's one here. Oh, you can, for $125, you can get a video conference with the director. And for like $150, you can get an exclusive screening at a city that they are in, such as Orlando, Austin, Vegas, New York, onward and onward. For a lot of screenings still. This one got me really, really good. Where is it? Dang it.
I did some back of the napkin math here, and to give you guys some perspective, Super Size Me cost about $64,000 in 2004, which is about $105,000 in today's money. So this guy's asking for 3 times the budget of one of the most successful documentaries in history.
Yes. Yeah. He's earned it.
As a Kickstarter. And as another point of reference, Blackfish cost $1.5 million. So just to give you an idea of what other documentaries cost.
There's no whales in this one, but for $500, you can get a meet and greet with Marvel legend Roy Thomas. I'll let that one sink in for a couple of seconds. For $500, you can also get a Dustin Nguyens original sketch.
No way.
Wow.
So it tied in. Here's something gross.
Can I get a...
Nope, here's something gross. For $2,000, you can get some Stan Lee signed one-of-one artist proofs. What are we doing with this rewards tier? Own a truly unique piece of comic book history with these one-of-one limited edition photos signed by Stan Lee. You are selling the thing. Yeah. You are selling the thing that you made a documentary about, claiming that it was like abuse and exploitation. Is anyone else just like confused by this?
Can I get a Dustin Nguyens sketch of someone abusing Stan Lee?
I mean, sure.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It's like if you were Schindler's List had a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
one of the prizes is you get to ride on the train.
Yeah,
like
man.
That's
well,
like for $2,000.
Own the red coat that the girl wore.
There is.
Yeah.
Hold on. There is, for a certain amount of money, you can go on a guided tour of like pivotal places in Stan Lee's life with the director. And like some of those places are like from the movie of like where like some of these alleged things took place. Like the exploitation or abuse or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Like you now want to like do a studio like star bus tour of just like, and here Stan Lee was forgotten in his wheelchair.
Yeah.
Here's where they drew the blood to put in that comic book.
Here's the Red Robin where he was left for 3 hours so his handlers could go take a nap. It's just...
It's bad.
It seems exploitative, like, even after the fact. It's like... It seems like this person had all this video and, like... I don't know... interactions and just, like... encounters with Stan Lee, and he's just like, well, I guess I should make a fucking movie with all this like stuff. Like, what else is there to do with it?
I don't have a problem with that. I have 100% of my problem is the fact that it's a Kickstarter. Like, even
Why is that the main thing for you?
because documentaries can serve a purpose, like Super Size Me or Blackfish, where you're highlighting a very specific problem that happens in society.
Right.
And you're an artist and you have every right to be paid for that kind of art, even if it isn't whatever, for entertainment, right? This is a documentary, it's art, it's important, all that stuff. But to say, I'm only going to release this important information if the world pays me $300,000.
Where like, did
Hold
he
on.
follow Stan Lee around for free and
It almost seems like he
Film
was
him.
also a part of the
abuse?
no. Well,
Well, I mean,
he was with the organization that
I don't know.
took
If
him
he's-
to cons.
if he's following him around and he's part of it and he's filming him constantly, and the whole thing is like, hey, look, we're toting this man around and we're only showing you the positive parts of it. And now he's like, well, I've got all the behind the scenes footage of
Right, you would
the
have
bad
thought,
stuff.
Well, that's fine and that's good. Don't tell me to pay you $300,000 to release that footage. Right?
Well,
like,
I think what the part I'm confused about is like, is he not just trying to get funding to release the movie? Like, if Kickstarter was around when Super Size Me was being made, would he have not done the same thing?
sure.
Is the movie made?
Yeah, the movie's done.
The movie's done.
Movie's made.
This is just to raise money for
This is
the
to
release.
raise money for release. Like I don't know how movies work, obviously, but if the
I
movie
mean,
is done, he's done interviews with
Yeah,
like
So he
legendary
could be
creators.
shopping this movie around studios, or he's trying to self-distribute here. So that
Well,
sounds
yeah.
like-
but if you're
None of the rewards are the movie. It's either a comic book, CGC authentication of the comic book, thanks in the comic book, screen. One of the things is $150 to screen the movie. Special thanks in the film, but there's nothing that'll send you like a DVD or digital copy of the movie.
Interesting. I don't know how I didn't notice that.
But if the Kickstarter is still to pay for distribution of the movie to theaters, because that is a thing, that is a business model that exists in the movie industry.
Sure.
That still feels icky to me because like somebody will distribute this movie assuming that it's completely made.
Unless he's tried to, and people are like, "This is kind of trash." You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
someone
it
else
could
has
be
seen
that
this,
too,
and they're
for
just like,
sure.
"We're not doing that." He's like, "Well, I'll do it myself."
Have you ever watched a movie? There are so many bad movies out there. Somebody will see Stanley's face and say, "Yep, we'll distribute that."
I wonder, and this is like tinfoil hat. I
Yeah.
wonder if they're just like people who might distribute it realize that this is about Stan Lee, who is tied to Marvel and Disney, and they're just like, you know what? I don't want to mess with that. Like, I don't really want to
But there's no
bring down
They
the
make
heavy.
enemies of like, yeah.
But there's no legal standing for that either. I mean, sure, you could threaten that, but like, there are so many anti-slap lawsuits that like, there's no way that you would be able to be sued for releasing a documentary, assuming everything in it is true.
I think as a business, it's easier just to say, nah, I'm not gonna get involved. Like, you know, like it. And we also don't know if any of the things in this movie are true. It could just be like speculative footage that he has of just like
Yeah, so
Stanley looking sad in a chair, and you're just like,
But
see
then
what they've done to him.
you need to release the footage so that we can see what it is.
I know that, and I
I'm
totally
torqued
get that.
up about this.
I,
That's
Can
why
you
I'm
tell?
wondering if there's no trailer or anything. Like normally, like if someone's
Well-
trying to get distribution, you can at least see what you're
Yeah.
buying into.
Yeah.
play it.
Well, I guess there's
I
that.
think there's a thing explaining it.
Okay. We're not going to get audio on the podcast, FYI. Okay, this guy is just speaking to what the movie is about, is all it is.
Yeah. And if you like zoom, like so, he has
Okay, so you can
footage.
see some behind the scenes
Yeah.
footage.
Oh, that's him.
So he
and
knows.
Stan Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, this seems like he was.
So I could maybe see like maybe this guy. Oh, hate to see that. Like you hope that what this guy is saying in the movie is that he was complicit, but he's recognizing it through hindsight that this is kind of terrible.
Right. I don't know. It feels icky to me to have footage like this and try and profit off of it.
I agree. No, it's yeah.
Or to try and profit off of it. So
he's making a thing. He like the profit is like kind of tied into it all, right? Like, why would he make this if he didn't want to make some money off of it? In itself, that's like kind of like it's not truly altruistic,
right,
in any sense.
Right.
Same with Blackfish or Super Size Me. Like, those people knew they were doing good by exposing this stuff, but they also knew they're probably gonna make a little bit of money off of it.
Well, and that's fine, and I totally support that too. But like, you don't make the documentary thinking, oh, this is gonna blow up and I'm gonna make $1 billion.
I think Super Size Me did. But I mean, that's just like semantics at this point. Like, it's splitting hairs. And also, like, from what we've seen, didn't we all kind of know this already? You know, like, what could you possibly, unless like he has footage of them like beating Stan Lee to like have him sit in a chair to like sign 1 million Mjolnirs like before he can leave the room.
And that's the other thing too, is like if you get a distributor behind it, you'll have the exposure of a Super Size Me or a Blackfish.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Kickstarter. So the only people that are going to be on here are the people that already know that Stan Lee was abused.
Right.
Yep.
Right? Like,
unless he is trying to get money to fund for distribution in a wider market.
But you're not going to get it on Hulu that way. You're not going to get it on Netflix that way. To do that, you would have to go to Netflix and be like, hey, I have this documentary, buy it, and they do the distribution.
Could it be he's trying to maybe get like a grassroots thing going and it'll gain momentum to wherein Netflix and Hulu would be like, oh, what's this Stanley? Because like, there's no way someone, even at the lowest tier of Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, doesn't know this exists. Just based on the social media swarm around it already. Someone has already clocked this and been like, has anyone seen what this stupid movie is about?
I guess at the end of the day, what I don't understand is what happens when, not if, when he does not make $300,000. Does this movie disappear into the ether?
I think it definitely makes $300,000.
He's only, I mean, on his first day, he's only made 60.
Mike, can you scroll back down just for a second?
It was 28 days
Where
to go.
Says, what will the money do?
Yeah.
The money will go into my pocket.
Support the production of the film.
Okay, so they are not done with it.
I don't know, man. It feels weird to me.
It is weird.
It feels very weird. And if I'm totally off base, I will own it for sure.
Some of your money goes to feeding them.
Totally.
It's a controversial Kickstarter.
Yeah.
About a controversial moment in time.
Yeah.
From some would say controversial industry leader that anyone and everyone's going to have an opinion about this.
Yeah.
And mine is no thanks, dog.
Let me ask that. Is this distinctly your take, or have you seen other people online being
everyone
like,
hates this.
Oh, okay.
There's a huge swarm of just like, why do we need this?
This conversation right now is the first time I'm hearing of this documentary. So
right.
I didn't know if that was just like the general sentiment.
I think there is an overwhelming sentiment of just like...
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. But then there's like another sentiment within that of just like, what do you got? Like, you know what I mean? There's that like sick perversion of just like, what do you possibly have?
Well, and I guess that's...
That we could look at.
Like, you don't have to have $300,000 if you already have the footage. You can make a shitty edit of this movie and post it on YouTube. And then if it blows up, if people watch it and they're like, holy shit, this people need to hear about this. Then Netflix will be like, okay, we're going to buy this and do a gussy it up, right? Like, I don't understand the need for this to immediately be a $300,000 Kickstarter.
I think if I'm trying to put myself into the eyes of the creator, he is betting on himself having a product that people want to see that he doesn't want to give away on YouTube.
Totally.
And
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. I don't agree with what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's almost like if Deep Throat made you pay him $500,000 for the Nixon stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to hear what I got to say? Okay, well, fund this Kickstarter and you get a
special Deep Throat comic book.
Deep Throat postcard bundle. You get to meet Roy Thomas. The more I think about it, Andy, it is like a thing of just of this expose this guy has, but it's just you gotta pay up first.
Yeah.
The closer you are to this stuff too, the harder it is to just look at it as an interesting think piece, because we're carrying around a ton of baggage that
it's hard to be objective.
Yeah, that other people are not. And we've got such a close relationship to who Stanley is as a person and what he means to us, that even this person who may be trying to protect other people like him, we're we want to protect our guy Stan still.
Yeah.
And his legacy, and this, you just get concerned about this stuff. I mean, we had similar takes about that Selling Superman documentary, where, I don't know if you've heard of this, Adam, but there was a guy who
his dad died?
His dad passed away, and he'd kind of been ostracized from the family as a hoarder. And he had just millions of dollars worth of comics. And
kind of why he was ostracized, because he
was ostracized because his comic book collection and things he had were so large.
Well, and the big thing was he had an 8.0 Superman #1.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that comic alone is $1 million or whatever.
But it consumed his life and just basically pushed his family out.
Yeah, he had a podcast about comic books and
just the first issues though.
But this documentary was made about the boon of selling his comics once he passed away.
Yeah.
And it's a little gross feeling, as somebody who also is surrounded by a room full of comic books, to be you would ostracize me for this, and then take a victory lap and make a movie out of
immediately profit
out of selling the things and profiting off of the things that you distanced yourself from me for.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, wasn't there a tone of just we had no idea what he was doing, he kept us out of, and it's just no, it sounds like you left him because he essentially had an addiction to this craft that we love, and then as soon as he died, you found out it was worth money. So
and now you've got a different take on the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, could you look at him as an incredible investor? Yeah, that's one way to look at it, right? He's making his family a ton of money. Can you look at him as a hoarder, and that's a terrible habit? Definitely. There's that side of it too. But again, being someone who's so close to the hobby and sees the things that come of it often, it is a tough pill to swallow when someone else makes a commentary on it.
Yeah.
And how does it resonate exactly with how your emotional attachment to the hobby? It's just tough.
On an emotional level, it's a little harder too, because if this father, this collector, never got reciprocated love back from his family, or never got seen in a positive light, and then passed away thinking that he was just a pariah or just alienated, and then Mike, to what you said of just the view of their father probably changed when they found out that all this stuff was worth money, and they probably saw him in a different light. He never got to experience that resurgence of different opinions about him.
Sure.
And that's just on a mental level, you're just oh my God, this poor guy.
So I guess my question would be about both of those, the Stan Lee one and the Selling Superman, is what is the larger story that they're trying to say? Because I think a lot of documentaries are like, you have a documentary about a car crash. The documentary is not about the crash. It's about what led up to the crash, what could have prevented it, and what is the outcome of that crash. What's the larger story? Like Super Size Me wasn't just about him eating McDonald's every day.
Right.
The larger thing was about the fast foodification of America and how our diets have changed and how people's obsession with fast food and how you could do the Blackfish. The same thing wasn't just about a dead whale. It was about the culture that's created. So my curious is, what is the larger story that the Stan Lee thing is going to be? Which I'd be really curious to know, because if it is just exploiting his exploitation, that's gross.
Yeah.
If they're trying to say if there's a larger story to be told there, tell me what that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And then nothing here is telling me that.
Yeah.
Like this Selling Superman, what are they trying to say other than like, we thought our dad was a weirdo. Turns out he had a lot of valuable commodities. Now we're profiting off of those commodities.
Yeah. But if the story is, I wish we would have been more invested in both our father and his interests while he was alive, that's an interesting story. I want to watch that.
Sure.
If this is about, this is what happened to Stan Lee, we need to protect the people that are important to us.
But I think this happens to lots of people.
Exactly.
Right? They're glomming on to Stan Lee because of the property he is, but what is the larger story that you're trying to tell, and not just this one?
Yeah, I think to that point it could be, I hope, like creator rights, or like, profiting off of someone else's popularity. Sure. Like, it's just like, at what point did Stan Lee stop being a human to you?
Right.
Yeah.
And started being like a means to an end.
Property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, there were moments in that like teaser trailer thing we saw of just like, this person, Jonathan, was obviously filming with the preconceived notion that he had something else in mind for this footage, right?
It certainly looked that way.
It did look that way.
He was filming without,
but it's hard
obviously,
to say
Stan
too,
Lee's knowledge or anyone else's knowledge of like, I'm going to expose this one day. And it's just like, you knew before you even wanted to make this film what you were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are in
complicit.
In any sense of the word, you were part of it all.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oof.
Yeah. I didn't mean
we invited Adam on for a very lighthearted episode.
I thought this about funny books.
Yeah. I think we should get into the funny books. I don't think we've had any other news that has even come close to what we just talked about. Hush 2 is on the horizon. Just your Hush 2 watch.
I can't wait for Hush 2.
Hush 2.
Hush 2.
Oh my god.
I have some kind of like minor, like kind of related to what we're talking about. Maybe minor. Maybe you guys have seen. So you know the new animated Spider-Man series.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the sort of the drama that's happening about it right now?
I've seen some things that the voice actor. Is this what you're gonna say?
Yeah. I just wondered if you guys had any more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
So I think what you're talking about is the lead actor who plays Peter Parker.
Correct.
Went to Twitter, X,
Yep.
and said that I only joined the project if they assured me that it wasn't going to be some watered down, woke version of Spider-Man.
Yes.
And this was like right as it was premiering.
Yes.
And I am positive as soon as he hit send on that tweet, he got a phone call from whatever production company and was just like, hey, if you want a job, you don't, like, no more.
Because he's walked it back.
Oh, I bet he fucking has walked it back. Yeah. He's like, you know what? Season 2, we can replace you pretty quickly. We'll get Tom Holland in here.
Tom Holland.
First of all, I've only watched the first episode, so I'm a neophyte, right? But like, aren't there a lot of like race swapped characters and stuff in that show? So like,
it's a very diverse cast.
Very diverse.
So
cast.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Was he talking about?
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. He is stupid. It was a very stupid thing for him to say that didn't make any sense or reflect what the TV show is or about. Mm-hmm. Or even what Spider-Man at large is about. This was a person who let their political and personal beliefs bleed through on social media. Mm-hmm. And it, like Adam said, he had to walk it back because it bit him in the ass.
This is all. We could probably talk for a couple hours on this whole sentiment of like, why are comics woke now, or why are so many comic writers so liberal?
Right.
And it's like, comics have been saying the same shit for over 80 years.
Comics have always hated Nazis.
I'll go a step further and say
and the
creative people have been like that
Yes.
since the dawn of time.
Right.
Yeah. You think about a form of creative expression and storytelling that's so affordable that it's accessible by more diverse voices.
Right.
And I always feel like comic books has been a medium for the people because of that. And there's a reason that growing
No
up,
dogs or cats allowed.
so many of these comic books help you as a child establish your moral compass. And we are at a point in our society where any slight inclination of morality is looked at as being a liberal agenda. And that's just like, I don't know. Light me up online if you want to for that take, but I 100% believe that comics are doing the same shit that they did in the 50s, in the 40s, and in the 70s and 80s. You're just like mad at it now because you've got a different view than
Also, show me which comics you're referencing that like aren't woke. Right? Like
Cyberfrog.
okay, that's too easy of like cuz these people read Batman, they read Captain America.
No, they don't.
They do though.
Well,
they do,
I
and it's
think
just
they-
like,
I
what
think
are you
they
missing
did.
from the story? That's
No,
a
I think
good
that's it. I
point.
think that you have like people that are like have aged out in their mind of this medium.
Right.
And they see something and they are remembering through some foggy lens because their morality has changed. Their lifestyle has changed.
Right.
Yeah.
But that hasn't. And so then they're like, at what point did that change? Rather than being introspective and asking, at what point did I change?
Right.
Or never really grasp the concept that large. And now it's more prevalent. It's more
Preach, brother,
yeah.
preach.
Because like the bullet points for Batman have not changed. Like he still does the same shit and has the same moral compass. Same for Superman, same for Captain America, same for name any goddamn superhero. It's all been the same. And editorial has made sure that it stayed the same since 1930 to 2025.
Yep.
Only the names have changed.
To the point where that is also a complaint.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Like if it's not comics have changed too much, it's they haven't changed enough.
Yeah.
And are we not happy
Yeah.
as readers of just like you can't please everybody, and I know that's like just a very watered down thing you could say, but it's just like I don't know what to tell these people when they say comics have gone woke, because it's just like they haven't. I don't know what radical infiltration you think has happened in the last 20 years.
I think an argument that I hear a lot is that I don't want to see your story represented on the pages of a comic book. I don't want an author to come in and tell their life experience in the pages of Batman. And to that I say, again, creators are bringing their perception of the world around them and the morality plays of the day into their comics in the 70s, 80s, and every other era of comic books.
Right.
What you're mad about is that it's no longer a white male dominated industry, and the people bringing their perspectives now, instead of them being Frank Miller, they are Vita Ayala.
Yeah.
And God forbid someone find themselves in a comic because they're represented now. Like, you've got almost 100 years at this point of comics for fucking white guys. And that's not to say they're not even in the dust. There's still 90% of comics are written for white guys by white guys.
Right.
And like, fuck off if you can't handle like a small smattering of diversity in your comics, telling like honest, real stories, which are like the best types of like allegories for what's happening today.
Right. And it's also there may be that sneaking suspicion in their mind of just like they read these stories and it washes over them that like, oh, I'm the bad. Like, am I the bad guy? Because like I am thinking like the villain is thinking in this book, and that's a hard thing to be confronted by. I understand that. Like, if you hold something to be true for so long, and then when the mirror is held up, that in fact what you have believed for so long is wrong, there is an aggression and a your initial reaction is to fight that.
But so much of this that pisses me off is like you're rejecting an entire medium you loved for most of your life,
right?
Because you're feeling othered for the first time in your life,
right?
Think about all the people who've been othered by this industry for almost 100 years.
Yes.
Cry me a river.
No, I am 100% on board with that.
Yeah.
It's just, it is the fragility of it.
Yeah.
Is so funny.
Something that I was thinking about that is very apropos to this conversation that makes me laugh out loud a lot is the fact that Bob Dylan got death threats for playing an electric guitar at one point. You know what I mean? And that that it makes me laugh, and it also makes me feel a lot better because like eventually those people will go away and they will die, and comic books will move on without them.
It is weird that you say that because I just saw a video online about how when America started to implement laws that you couldn't drink and drive, they made it illegal.
Oh yeah,
like you used to be able to drink a beer while you drove, and like I think in the 80s or somewhere they're just like, okay, along with seatbelts, you can no longer drink an alcoholic beverage, and people were on the news calling that communism. They were vilifying the fact that I can't get off my work shift and crack open a couple of brews.
And you know what? That was a good idea. Yeah, let's all be real.
Yeah.
Even as the guy who works for the beer company.
I agree more. Yeah.
Listen, I'll agree with that, but seatbelts gotta go. They hurt my tummy. And I refuse to lose weight.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam, for adding more fuel to the fire.
That was good. That was good.
Shall we move on to comic books, Vargy?
Let's talk about comic books.
Can we talk about the one that we read together?
Yeah, and then we can talk about the silly one.
Yes.
We read Assorted
Crisis
Events
on
Image
Comics
by
Dinsey Camp.
And
I don't have it in front of me. You have it in front of me.
Eric Zawodzki.
Mm-hmm.
Is that close enough?
Yep.
It's Dennis Camp, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. But
and Jordi Belair.
And Jordi Belair on colors. And a lot of other people on a lot of other things.
Yeah. Don't have the time to read it. But we do have time to talk about how good it is.
It was very good.
This is an anthology series that Image is putting out that is exploring the end of the world in different...
Okay. So that's what I had a question about.
Each book in this anthology will be a one-shot.
Right.
Whether or not they'll be tied into one another is yet to be seen. But each individual story that we're going to get is going to be a one-shot.
Same event? Like same...
We assume it's going to be at the same event of Assorted Crisis.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because in this book, what is happening is like time is just kind of...
Time is having a crisis.
Oh, it's blipped out.
Testify.
So the story we get is this young woman trying to live her life while basically introducing us to what's happening in our world. You'll have temporal events happening where like Vikings will show up or like people from the future will show up, and they just kind of live within this world. And not only that, other worlds like that haven't even existed yet. So you could meet your evil version of yourself just randomly.
Or he could meet me.
Yes.
Yeah, or I could meet you, or we could be married. Like,
Right.
so many amazing things could happen.
The great scene that illustrates this is she gets up every day and goes to work, and they do that a couple of times. But she goes to work one day, and she says, "Hi, I'm whoever, Jenny." And the guy's like, "I have no idea who you are, and I don't have a record of you ever working here." And she's like, "Oh, great, I get the day off, but I don't get paid."
Yeah.
Because she stumbled into a reality where she doesn't work for this company.
There was a temporal rift where the company she worked for was either ahead or behind of the time frame that she worked there, and they had just no record of her. So a lot of interesting concepts being thrown at us. Beautifully drawn. I was captivated from page 1.
Yeah, a lot of good art.
Is it a parody or commentary on... You would assume by the title that it is like a spoof on DC.
Nope.
I thought it was going to be too. It's not that.
Okay.
It seems to me that it's going to be a commentary on time and wasting time and what time means and how much we have of it and how do we spend it or waste it.
Yeah, like Life Crisis as opposed to Final Crisis.
Okay, yeah.
And so there was...
It's a clever play on words at a minimum
Yeah.
for because Crisis in comics is shorthand for multiverses like colliding.
I also think it's just like an interesting way to do an anthology series like EC is doing, but kind of like turn it on its head and be very hyper specific of just like, these are temporal things that are happening.
Yeah.
And we're going to be exploring that within different lives in this universe.
Yeah. And there is an interesting... The way the book opens is very interesting because you get this scene and there's these explosions on the outside and she wakes up and she's very calm, but there's this like apocalypse happening outside. But then you find out that the reason the apocalypse is happening is because her street has been sold or leased constantly to movie production companies. So she looks out her window every day and there's World War III or Nazis marching down the street, but it's a movie shoot.
Yeah.
And then she walks past her street and that stuff is like actually happening in the world.
Yeah. So it does like really kind of put you on your head as soon as you start, because in a world where apocalyptic things are always happening, there are still movies being made about the apocalypse. And there is a commentary on that about just like, why are we so obsessed with this that we just have to keep making the same like content about it over and over again?
Well, and it's commodifying the real world crises that are happening, right?
Yeah. And so like the one of the through lines is this young girl is gifted a clock, like a physical clock from her parents who were caught in a temporal rift. And in this world now where time is kind of just like absent, like there's no real need to keep time because time is so abstract that it's like, why even like have a watch?
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
That clock repair people have become like advanced hobbyists now that like are sought after because they just like are elder statesmen of a dying craft. Yeah. And so like when this clock gets broken, she has to like go to one and have it repaired, and they have to like make her compete to like, is it even worth my time to fix this stupid little clock? So there's like a weird America's Got Talent thing of just like, is your story good enough for this clock maker to like repair this clock?
Yeah. It's a very cool book, and it kind of sounds like we've used every word and like put it in a blender and poured it out, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was really interesting. It was a lot of fun. If issue 2 is as good as this, I mean, I'm gonna sign up for the whole series.
I remember having a great conversation with James Tynion. Tynion. I always say that wrong.
Just say Tiny Onion.
At a con before Something is Killing the Children. And he had just started writing or co-writing on Batman at the time. And so his indie stuff was becoming less frequent. And I was like, man, I hope you keep writing your indie comics because I loved all that stuff so much. And he was like, what, I'm just curious, like, what do you like about it? And I was like, I'm fascinated by all the scenarios you pose and seeing how people react to like chaos kind of at the end of things. And he said, he was like, you're going to like some of my comics coming up then. And I suspect maybe he was talking about Nice House on the Lake at this point.
Right.
But he was like, there is something about the end of the world that people get really excited about talking to me about like the what ifs. And he was like, what is it about us that is just so drawn to the end of times? Or the horrific nature of that, and like the casual feelings of like watching it happen. Is that some sort of like parallel to like right now we're watching the world fall apart,
Right.
but like some of us are just viewing it as like passersby. And is this an inflection point where like the end of the world is coming? It was like a very interesting conversation about like what that says about us as a culture, that we are so fascinated with that stuff. And then he was like, and not to say that like I'm judging you for liking my stuff. He was like, what does that say about me as a creator who's like making all these things about the end of the world and like profiting off of them? And I don't know. I just think it is so interesting. And I think it's really shows like the hectic nature of the times we are in, to just like see what happens when it all burns down, or when it like reaches a point of no return. That it almost lifts weight off your shoulders to be like, it's sci-fi, and to like see it in a comic book,
Right.
and be like, this is not real. I can detach myself further from it.
Yeah, well, it's like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
Roller coasters let you face and embrace that kind of fear in an environment that you
In a
know is
controlled
controlled.
way.
Yeah.
Or
right.
like watching a horror movie.
Yep.
It lets you embrace something that's terrifying objectively in a way that you know is never going to be able to hurt you.
Yeah. Well, and I think a handful of James Tinian's books are like, there is peace in the acceptance
Yes.
of the end of things, and how like small
Yeah.
like your business in this is,
Yeah.
which is almost a relief of like all the baggage we carry with our jobs and the stress of all the things we have to do. That it's like reading a comic book like that puts all your other problems in perspective. All this to say, I am a big fan of the world ending, and I do like stuff like this is like, I think important in creative realms, because it I think it does a lot for us mentally to experience things like this, whether we know it or not.
There's Mike D's business card.
Well-
Mike D. I'm a big fan of the world ending.
There was a comic also on Image called Swan Song.
Yeah, W. Maxwell Prince.
Yes, and that whole book was like
Stuff's ending.
the ending of things, be it a relationship or the world or whatever. It was just like every comic was a one shot of something ending and the finality of it. And there is something to that. That's like, it's such an interesting point in a story that like most fiction is happily ever after.
Right.
And to have the apex of your story be things ending poorly is just so different than, 95% of fiction that comes out, that I don't know. I'm just fascinated by it as a kind of almost a genre at this point. Like there's enough end of the world stuff at this point that it's almost like a subgenre of sci-fi.
Well, I think it's just like an easy placeholder for death, right?
Totally.
To like just like interpret, because that will be your end of the world.
Yeah.
Everyone will have their own end of the world. Someone's having it right now.
There's Greg's business card. Everyone will have their own end of the world.
And we're gonna like you'll have it later. But like that's why I also love end of the world things, because like really fundamentally
Is it the collective nature of it? Like something that everyone experiences together?
Yeah.
Well, it
Or
makes
is
it
that-
Yes.
it makes it easier to face.
Yeah.
When it's like
when you know, like we're all
doing it together.
not just me.
Well, and the thing about it is, and Mike, I don't know if you agree with like those stories, is like people still, when they know the world is ending, fight it. You know what I mean? Like they're like, well, how can we stop it? And it's just like, no, the world is ending. Sit down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just enjoy
What's
that bird in the tree. Like it's done.
What's
It's-
important and
yes.
what isn't. Yeah.
And that's what it breaks down every construct. These end of the world stories of just like, what is it about your life that you love? Because you have a small amount of time left that you can do it. And like, that's what this book is about, of just like thinking about it so much. And then when it happens, because that's what this particular story is. It's always about, oh, the end of the world, the end of the world. Then it happens. What do you do now?
Yeah.
You talk a big game before that. You're just like, well, I would do this. And blah, blah. Okay, well, it's here now. Are you gonna do what you said you were gonna do?
It's so funny because like that you have just said is the point of the comic that I tell everybody not to read. Crossed.
Yeah.
But that comic is gross.
It is very gross. Don't read it.
I think it's also, there's something about it too that is like, yeah, we might focus on an individual character in a story like this, but like, is there anything to make you realize you are not the main character? Like at the end of everyone, that it's like, there's nothing like, I'm not surviving this.
Right. All the main character energy goes right up the window.
Everyone else, we're all in the same playing field. No one's better than me. No one's worse than me. We're all just like at the whims of the same exact end.
Should we all get naked? Like, what are we doing here? It's a fantastic book. I love that it's an anthology series that's going to be exploring different people's experiences with the end of the world. I think it teed it up for issue 2. A guy is like face to face with a velociraptor. Yeah. So there'll be more temporal happenings.
And do you think the old bearded guy is going to be like our narrator, our through line or something?
No, I think he was important for this story.
Okay.
Because he basically tells the girl, I don't want to give too much away, but like the main character, the main old dude on the cover A, essentially tells the lead character in this book how the end of the world's going to happen for her.
True. Yeah.
Like he basically gives like cryptic details that you don't know what he's saying in that moment. But as the book leads up, you're like, oh, he said that. Oh, he also said that. And like, you can just kind of see that he knew more than people. Yeah.
I didn't know if he was going to be like a crypt keeper or an ice cream man.
No,
or something.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Review us your silly book, Vargas.
Review us your silly book.
I read Nick Fury versus Fing Fang Foom because the old gypsy curse said I have to read all the Goofy books.
Now, this is also in the series of books wherein I think you and I both covered what was it? Thor and...
No, Dr. Doom Rocket Raccoon.
Dr. Doom Rocket Raccoon.
Yep.
Where it's like a mismatched pair.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Jesus.
So there's a couple of these, and they outline them in the back. Are you ready for these?
Yes.
Hulk and Doctor Strange is the next one. Could be very fun.
Open Bakery.
This one I will be purchasing instantly. Galactus versus Ghost Rider.
Okay. Didn't they do that with Cosmic Ghost Rider?
Kind of. And then Spider-Man versus the Marvel Universe.
Okay. Who's doing that?
That's fun.
Does it say creators?
I think it's all Straczynski.
Yes.
Wild.
This is a series he's doing.
Yeah. So
interesting. Okay.
Nick Fury versus Fing Fang Foom is exactly what you get on the tin. Nick Fury has more or less retired from military service, and he's pulled back in for one last job.
One last Fing Fang Foom.
And the job is to fly over China and figure out why no planes are coming back, and they're not coming back because there's a giant shape-shifting dragon in the skies above China, and Nick Fury has to stop it. It is an interesting... If you've read any J. Michael Straczynski... I
love the Dr. Doom Rocket Raccoon one.
Okay.
I thought that was phenomenal.
You'll probably like this. It starts off very goofy, like I said, but then it gets into Fing Fang Foom talking to Nick Fury, and Nick Fury basically deciding that this is not going to be the end of me, even though these are like insurmountable odds against this giant, multi-dimensional alien being. And he like basically becomes the Nick Fury from the Howling Commandos that we know and love. Because of this event that happens early in his career.
So is this also another End of the World book?
No, it's like the beginning of his career. It's like the secret origins
beginning
of
the
Nick
world.
Fury.
This is how he became like a superhero.
Yeah, pretty much. He doesn't get any powers or anything, but he's like, it's like his, that where Spider-Man's trapped under all the rocks and he can't possibly lift it, and then he does. This is like that for Nick Fury.
Yeah, his mind over matter moment.
Yeah.
His mind over Fing Fang Foom moment.
Yeah. So it is goofy, but like a lot of the books I read, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the books I read, it is a one-shot. So
So with the Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon one, there was a lot of brevity in the book, but in that series, it dealt with essentially Doctor Doom starting the Big Bang.
yeah.
So like he basically started life, and like as the story goes on, you're like, this is getting pretty heavy, Michael. Like
This gets pretty heavy too. I mean,
okay,
pretty philosophical.
All right, now I'm kind of excited to read that. That's
There you go.
interesting. I really want to see Spider-Man versus the Marvel Universe.
I know, right?
Will they all be one-shots?
Yeah, they're all one-shots.
Yeah, dig
So
it.
there's 5 of them. Or whatever, at $5 a piece.
Easy to read.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I also read, if you're done,
Yep.
Mr. Vargas, Dark Pyramid from Mad Cave by Paul Tobin and PJ Holden.
Oh, I do like Paul
I
Tobin.
do too.
This book, I didn't know what I was getting into when I started it, so I was just kind of like on the fence. Well, now I am fully off the fence and invested in this book.
Okay.
Because it is a Lovecraftian tale told through the lens of social media.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
I'm sold.
interesting.
Stop digging. You struck gold.
What is it? Enter the Mouth of Darkness?
Into the Mouth of Madness.
Into the Mouth of Madness, where it's like there's a cave on a mountain or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the beginning, there's a man live streaming himself climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
Falls down. For some reason, a cave appears. So he goes into the cave while still live streaming. And to push the point home, everyone in the world is like live streaming this guy. This is like if Mr. Beast climbed K2.
Yep.
What's up, chat?
You know what I
Today
mean?
we're releasing The Dark Lord Cthulhu.
Yeah. We've dropped 5 million rubber balls on Everest, and we're going to see which one lands at the bottom. Well, he goes like the feed cuts or whatever.
Sure.
And it's like this whole thing of just like what happened to him, where is he at? His girlfriend was watching the stream, and so she decides to like take up the call to go find him. So she becomes a streamer herself, and like she now has followers and gains enough funds to go like fly to this place to find her boyfriend or whatever. And she gets to this small town, and like a lot of small towns surrounded by mountains, there's a lot of shit going on that is just weird and unexplained. Ravens start following her around. The police are shifty, a little dodgy, may have set up her murder towards the end of the book.
Sure.
And then she is confronted with a woman who has lived in the town her whole life that is trying to save her because she can see what's happening, unknowns to her. And from there, you get like a Lovecraftian beast at the end, and like what it's projected to do for the rest of the series is just kind of a different and unique interpretation of a Lovecraftian story that I haven't seen yet.
Cool.
Which is a hard thing to say.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everything has been done with Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And to add that like weird streaming social media bent on it is interesting to me.
Yeah. Cosmic horror is very tough to get right.
Right.
Super tough.
But when you do get it right,
Yeah.
it absolutely cooks.
Yeah, totally.
So,
The social media twist on it is very unique.
yeah,
That's cool.
it's very, very fun. And like I said, I went into this completely blind,
Yeah.
and I'm glad. I'm honestly kind of glad I didn't know what it was about, because I don't know if I would have picked up a Lovecraftian book
Yeah.
with a social media twist.
It's kind of out of your wheelhouse, but
And also, it just kind of seems like a huge leap
yeah.
that a lot of people are just like, I don't want any of that. Where's my Spider-Man book? But if you're interested in either of those things, give this book a read. Cool. It is very, very fun. It's my surprise hit of the week.
Hey. It sounds like a lot of times when social media is in a comic, it is very it's like a corny gimmick, and it is like the commentary is like, isn't this ruining our lives? And it's like, wow, hot take.
Yeah.
You know what, you know what I
Also,
mean?
Stan Lee was abused? What the hell?
So a lot of the time when I see that as a hook in something, I'm like, peace, no thanks. But it sounds like
It's not the hook.
this is not the hook. It's
Right.
just it's a storytelling device.
Exactly right. And I think that's exactly why this story works.
Yeah.
Is because it's like the lens isn't, oh, social media brought upon this Lovecraftian beast. It's like, no, Lovecraftian shit is happening, and we're using a new, like,
In the world in the modern world we're living in, more people are being exposed to it.
yes.
Yeah.
This is how it's being broadcasted.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, it's very, very fun. Very, very cool.
And 5-issue mini.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's not a one shot, which you like, but
Well, you don't have
It's
to
a small
commit to an
investment.
ongoing.
Right.
I kind of hope they do a pull quote for me. And the pull quote is, it's very, very fun. Very, very cool.
Very, very fun.
Crackling Type, first issue club. And I also hope I get a pull quote from the image book that says, everyone has their own
End of
end of the world.
world.
Crackling Type, the smiling face of first issue club.
Good stuff.
All right.
I think that's a sewed.
Yep, we did it. If you stuck with us this long, you already know all the things.
And remember, if you are in the Kansas City area and want to go to Planet Comicon,
Yes.
go to our social medias, follow the instructions on the post to get entered into a chance to win 2 3-day passes to Planet Comicon on March 21st through 23rd.
Yep. And
Yeah.
also go to Boulevard Beer Hall.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, because Saturday the 22nd is when the party is.
Yes.
And then, is there anything happening in the beer hall?
Yeah, so Thursday before the con, we're the official pre-party. So
Yep.
the beer hall is going to be all space campered out. Here Initiative is going to be there. You guys are going to
We'll
be
be
there.
there.
Yeah, it should be a rocking good time.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited. It's going to be a great year for Planet Comicon. It's always a great year for comics, and it's always the best time when Adam Hall shows up on First Issue Club.
Hey.
The official, unofficial, fourth member. Adam, thanks again for joining us. And as always, everyone, remember to bag and boredom.
Bye.